Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the BRADDA investor presentation. Throughout this presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Please just simply type in your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. These will be available via your Investor Meet Company dashboard, and we will send you an email to notify you when they're ready for your review. I'd also like to remind you that this presentation is being recorded. Before we begin, we would like to submit the following poll, and if you would be able to give that your kind attention, we would be most grateful. And I'd now like to hand over to Charles Fitzroy, CEO from BRADDA. Good morning to you, Charlie.
Morning, Mark. Thank you for the intro. Good morning, everyone. I'm CEO Charlie Fitzroy. I'm coming here to talk about BRADDA this morning. I'd like to turn off my camera whilst I do talk, just to make the presentation slightly bigger, and then I'll put it back on later when we go through the Q&A. So BRADDA is a very unique company. The stage we are at and the assets we have are very unique within the market. We hold three types of lithium deposit assets: brine assets, sedimentary clay assets, and pegmatite assets. All of these are located in Arizona and Nevada within the USA. This is very important for us as a company. We are located very close to infrastructure, grid power, end users, and we're located in two of the best places in the world as of the Fraser Index 2020 survey, which ranked Arizona and Nevada number 1 and 2 for investment attractiveness. We own all these projects outright, and as many of you probably know, we've just IPO'd on Monday, and we went out to raise £4 million. We've got up to interest up to 9 million and scaled back to just over 6. So, we had an oversubscribed, very successful IPO, which is why we chose the London market, because we understood that, there's such an interest from investors within the UK market, and that has shown from our successful IPO. As I said, we own the assets outright, 100%, and we've got a very exciting exploration plan, which I can run through in the presentation slightly later on with you. So there's lots of very interesting things ahead for BRADDA, a lot of news flow, and a lot of things which we're getting on as we go. We raised some money pre-IPO, which enabled us to put a drill program in action and a claim staking program in action, which I will talk through later, some slides. So you saw 2 days ago on Wednesday, we had a really good announcement come out just telling you, updating how the drill program's going, and this is what we plan to do. We're going to make sure everyone keeps updated, keeps knowing what's going on with us as we progress our plans and programs going forward. As I mentioned earlier, we're in Nevada and Arizona, near the end users, as you can see from this map, and also near a lot of our peers. So we have sort of Jindalee, Cyprus, American Lithium, Ioneer. All these guys are developing assets up in Nevada near our brine assets. So as you see on this map, let me just put the drawing on currently. So we've got our Spencer and Wilson Salt Flats assets up in the north there. So that's not very good, up here. And then we have our clay assets just down here, Wiki up in Barrow Creek, and our pegmatite assets just below it, up at San Domingo. The companies I just mentioned, so Ioneer, all those guys are just here. So they're very close to our brine assets. And then you can see the number 1 here, just there. That is Albemarle's Silver Peak operation, which has been operating since 1968. So, in Nevada, the area really understands lithium mining. But there is only one current operating mine in the US, and that is Albemarle's operation, which produces about 5,000 tons of lithium. And as we know, there's a huge demand coming in the US. The US is forecast to need over 200,000 tons by 2025 and a lot more by 2030. So the US does need lithium supply within the US, and we want to be part of that low carbon lithium supply, because a lot of the lithium now currently coming into the US is mined in South America or Australia, and then goes to China or wherever to be processed, and then comes to the US, which is adding to its carbon footprint. And that's why we're in the US, and we believe our assets are going to be able to help the US develop its lithium supply chain, domestic supply chain. The company has a very, very good board and management team. Ian Stalker, our chairman, he has built himself 12 operations. He understands how to take a small company and grow its value, and has taken numerous companies from zero to hero. Myself, I joined recently from China Moly, which is a large Chinese corporate, where I did a lot of work looking at lithium, and that's why the opportunity came to me earlier this year, and I jumped at it to join with BRADDA Head and help them develop their assets. We have very solid US-based operations managers, Jim Gullinger, who's got a team working with him now. They're the guys who are out there. You might have seen some of the pictures from our Twitter stream or LinkedIn, which has John Keller, which is one of Jim's guys, logging our core and working with the drill program. There is also a field tech who works with them too, who's been helping John out. So they're out there in Arizona now as we speak. And then we have Denham, who's our solid CFO. And then we have obviously the board. Jim Mellon needs very little introduction. Jim's a very successful billionaire. And then we have a really, really good independent Neds, Ewan and Alex, who've got a very good experience within the city. So overall, we've got a very strong management and board who understand how to take a small company and grow value. So as I mentioned before, the US has a very small current lithium supply, only about 5,000 tons a year, and it needs much more. Benchmark Mineral Intelligence believes by about 2025, it will need about 210,000 tons of lithium, and by 2030, about 350,000 tons. So currently the US only produces about 2.5% what it needs by 2025. And we are located in Arizona, Nevada, which are very well located for the growing Tesla gigafactories and other battery end users in the west of the USA. So we believe we're very well located to be able to develop these assets in a low operating cost environment, which cuts out a lot of the supply chain for current US batteries. As we can see on the map here, sorry, the slide where you've got a world map, this highlights the lithium supply chain currently. As I said, most of it is mined in Australia or South America and then sent to China, where it's processed, and then sent to Europe and to the US. So that obviously adds to the cost and the carbon footprint of lithium. An interesting chart on the right there by Roskill is showing all the current Pegmatite, which is Australia, and then brine assets, which is South America, and then it's got a few sedimentary assets as well. As you can see, the carbon intensity of the Pegmatite guys is a lot higher than the brine operations. And this is something which, the distance these guys have to travel their lithium to get to places is one of the reasons, but also the power involved. Sedimentary assets, which we are developing, are naturally lower in carbon intensity than Pegmatite assets, and brine assets as well also. And as you can see on this map, the capital intensity is higher currently of sedimentary, but the sedimentary field is a developing one. Bacanora recently, the fact that Ganfeng, which are a partner of Bacanora, want to buy out the company, really adds confidence to the lithium story and confidence in Ganfeng's belief that developing sedimentary or clay deposits is a viable way forward. And the fact they've had a pilot plant for the last 4 years really adds confidence to the story. So we're very excited that that's happening. Our current operation, our current asset at Burrow Creek East, we have a small inferred resource there. The key thing to remember here is, whilst it is the grade is comparable to the other guys, it's slightly lower than Hawkstone's. Hawkstone have a resource just not very far from our Burrow Creek East asset, next to our Wiki-Up project. Our inferred resource is over 4% of our sedimentary claims. So that's just 4% of the claims. I think Hawkstone's resource is over a similar amount of their claims, but we have Pegmatite and brine assets as well, which Hawkstone only have those sedimentary claims. And we roughly have about the same land holding currently as Hawkstone. But we are, as we speak, adding claims. And so effectively, we're going to double our land holdings. We're going to have double the land holding in Hawkstone and be the largest landholder on the, we're calling it Wiki-Up Burrow Creek Basin. But it could be called the Big Sandy Burrow Creek too, because it starts up by Hawkstone's asset as well as our Wiki-Up project. So going on to the projects, as you can see from this map here, we got our Burrow Creek East asset, which is just down in the bottom here. And then we have our Burrow Creek West, which is just next to it. And then going around, we have our Wiki-Up project just here. Hawkstone's asset is just in the middle here. So we are surrounding it. So as you can see, Hawkstone have got a resource in place. They've demonstrated that they can process their material to lithium battery grade carbonate. We've also done testing at our Barrow Creek East asset. We've demonstrated that you can process the ore to battery grade lithium carbonate as well. So that's 2 locations on this belt, on this basin. And in our mind, that really de-risks the whole basin because it's the same mineralogy, same mineralization across the whole belt. So that for us is very exciting. We are currently staking more claims, just a large portion just here, and then also here and here. So our claims are very much over areas where it's very prospective, and we model there's going to be lithium mineralization. So we're very excited about that. This again, as I said before, will effectively double our land holding in the belt and put us as the largest landholder. Important to note on this slide is the fact, just east of our Barrow Creek East asset, you've got Freeport's Baghdad copper mine, which has been in operation since 1928. So, mining is very understood in the area. And then we've also, importantly, got a massive highway going up the middle here. And there's rail nearby. Rail's 80 k's away. And there's grid power. And also, we are in Arizona. So we are going to try and develop these assets as environmentally positively as possible. Solar panels, obviously, is a natural step forward for us. And we're working with a few processing guys to be able to make sure our processing methods are as low reagents, low water, low power as possible. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a low carbon footprint lithium for the US market, and we have a clear route to development. And most importantly, the ore in the basin has been processed to battery grade lithium carbonate, which is the key thing for us. Whilst we are starting to work on our sedimentary assets, our phase 2 assets are the same confidence of us. It's just the fact that we started at our clay assets because they are permitted to go. The drill spacing for those assets can be further apart, so it's cheaper for us to drill there. We can prove up our resources quicker there, and also they're permitted and ready to go. So that's why we started our clay assets. But our pegmatite assets and our brine assets are equally as exciting. San Domingo, which is our pegmatite district, very not very far from Barrow Creek East, West, and Wickiup. It's a 9-kilometer strike. We think it's very similar to some assets in Australia. I'm just going to jump through quickly just to get to a nice slide which shows what we think these assets are like. Apologies. There we go. Okay, so if you see these charts here, you've got these dikes at surface, outcropping here and here. Okay, and then you've got these big feeder systems at depth. So San Domingo has a huge complex of very high-grade dikes at surface, which were mined back in the 1950s and have grades up to 6 and 8% spodumene, which is amazing because the guys in Australia who are mining pegmatites, they create a concentrate which is 6% grade. So it's very telling of what grade we have at these pegmatites. The exciting thing is these crystals which we saw at the pegmatites are huge, and it means they've developed over a long time, which is why we believe there's a deeper system there. When I say deep, I mean 200 to 300 meters. So this is still going to be open pittable, but it's something which is very exciting. And we've got a geophysical team lined up for September to be able to do a survey in place, try and work out what's there. And once we do that, we can use the drill data from the 50s and do a nice 3D model and put a drill program together, because this is very exciting. It's just takes a bit slightly longer than the clay assets, which we can drill right as we speak. That's a good slide too. There we go. You see this is the pegmatite district here. You can see it's 9 kilometers in length, and you can see all these mineralization all over the place. It's very exciting. That's why we are progressing that after our clay assets at the same time as our clay assets, but not drilling right now. I'm just going to go back to the slide and presentation where I was. Okay. And then we have our Wilson salt flats and Spencer brines, which are up in Nevada. Wilson, we've done geophysics there. We've identified the basin, and we're going to plan some drilling there later in the year, maybe early next year, depends how long it takes to get a driller sorted out. But once we do that, we're going to do some brine geochemistry testing to work out how to process this in the best way. These assets are going to be processed from direct extraction technology, which is similar to what Cornish Lithium or other guys in the States are doing. We're not going to be having huge evaporation ponds just because where we're located, there is some rainfall and the temperatures aren't consistently high as South America. But this is also better from an environmental standpoint. And the fact we have direct extraction means we can direct where we want to put our water from the process. So it is more environmentally sound than the guys in South America, which are having a lot of problems with water and the local tribes in the areas. We won't have that problem. Spencer is very exciting. There's some really good surface grades, 550 ppm, and we are going to be doing some geophysics there to identify the basin, and then we can put a drill program in place. So our phase 2 assets are very exciting, and we're looking forward to getting going there as well. So BRADDA Head, as you guys might have seen, we listed on Monday. We had a very successful IPO. We raised just over £6 million. That's nearly £5.5 million after fees, and we had, as of yesterday, $400,000 in the bank pre these funds. So we're looking at around about $5.8 million, roughly. Sorry, $7.8 million. Apologies, $7.8 million after funds received. So we've got a huge amount of cash. We've got more cash we went out to initially get, so now we've got a bit more leeway. We can do some more programs. We're currently having discussions with our COO to work out where to assign these extra funds. We're not going to go crazy and spend all the money. We're going to make sure we are getting results from our programs and then working out where to put extra cash, because we want to obviously make sure we develop these assets and return value to shareholders and demonstrate the value in the company. BRADDA's got its geological risk is spread compared to other companies. As I said before, we have all 3 asset types. We have brine assets, pegmatite assets, clay assets, which makes us unique. Importantly, our clay assets, 2 areas on the clay belt, which we are seen to be the largest landholder by 50%, have been processed and showed that they can be processed to battery grade lithium carbonate, which is vital because that is one of the key things. Politically, our assets are located in Arizona and Nevada, which are ranked 1 and 2 by the Fraser Index investment attractiveness score. You can't get better than that. That's worldwide. Infrastructure, we are located near the end users, near road and rail, and have the ability to use grid, or we can use solar panels as well going forwards because of where we are located in the US. We are going to be developing these assets in a low carbon footprint. That is key. We understand for the US to develop its electric vehicle supply chain, it needs to be as green as possible. And a key thing which makes sure everyone who's been involved in the IPO and is buying shares now understands that management are hugely incentivized. Board and management own about 24% of the company. So that's obviously very important to note. We are incentivized with you. We want the company to do as well as you do. And geological upside, we're focusing on the clay assets now, but we have the pegmatite and brine assets, which makes us unique. And the upside we have is huge. So we're very excited to get going, and fantastic we'll be able to raise so much money at IPO to be able to do this and put all this money in the ground. So what we have in place to go ahead, this is just a 12-month work program. Most of the money is going to the ground at WikiUp because Hawkstone's assets, as you can see here, have that grade, which is higher than our peer group and higher than what we have currently at Burrow Creek East. But sorry, I got too excited and I forgot to tell you about our Burrow Creek East drill program. We're drilling there currently, and this program is very important because we did a program back in 2018 which suffered from poor recoveries, 60 to 80%. We've now got a diamond drill rig in place, which is doing really well. It's done 1 hole so far, and we've got 93% recoveries from that 1 hole. So this is important because we're twinning 5 holes which didn't go through the second layer of mineralization. Let me just show you the cross section. So you look at this map here, you see these 5 holes. One's here, 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 and then also this one here. These we didn't go through that secondary layer of mineralization. So that's one thing. Second thing, which I mentioned earlier, was the recoveries. We're getting better recoveries. And then we're doing 5 new holes. So we're going to be able to expand the resource and upgrade it. Hopefully we'll get an upgrading grade as well as size from this new program, which is getting better recoveries. And it will enable us to means we wouldn't have missed anything in the drill core. So that 60-80% recoveries, you might have missed some mineralization. We're not sure what, but now we're getting a better, more accurate picture of what is there in the ground. So that's why it's very important, and that's happening now. And we're going to get results later in the year. Because of COVID, there's been a backlog of drilling. A lot of the drillers have now been going. There's a lot of drilling happening in the US. It's hard to get drillers. That follows on. It means it takes longer for the labs to process the assays. So we expect first results to be in September, and then they'll be coming through as we speak, because we're going to be sending them off to labs as we get the drill core out. So that's very exciting what we're doing now. That program is smaller in value compared to our Wiki-Up. As I was saying before, Wiki-Up is where there is the grade in the ground there at Hawkstone's, a big sandy asset. That's why we are doing most of our funds are going to drilling at Wiki-Up. We're going to be drilling up in the north and the southwest, and then also the northwest. And also, as I mentioned before, we've just staked a huge claim block here. So once we do some geophysics there, work out what's there, and put a drill program together, we'll start drilling there too. So that's very exciting. I've mentioned the Barrow Creek East program. Barrow Creek West, which is just next to Barrow Creek East here, we are going to be doing a permitting process for a year to be able to drill there. We're doing baseline studies, archaeological studies, to make sure we're not interfering with anything. We don't think there's anything of note there, but it's just something we need to do to make sure the state and the government, everyone understands we're doing things in the correct way, because we want to make sure that our reputation in the area is positive. Along that line, we've actually engaged with an ESG professional who myself and the chairman, Ian Stalker, are heading out to Arizona and Nevada in August to meet with our CEO on the ground, go and see the assets. We're meeting the ESG professional, and we're going to talk through everything there, because there are things as a company you need to make sure you develop the assets in the right way, and that's one of the key things. Alongside of Barrow Creek West permitting, we're going to drill there next year after we permitted. And then our phase 2 assets, which are our brines, which is Wilson and Spencer. We are putting drilling and testing at Wilson, and then Spencer we're doing geophysics. And then, as I mentioned before, San Domingo, we're doing some geophysics to identify the deeper structures there to be able to put a drill program together. So there's a lot going on, which is very exciting for us, because we want to make sure the news flow keeps coming out and make sure everyone's updated of what's going on with operations. This timeline here gives you an idea of what's going on. Obviously, there is some movement depending on lab availability, drilling availability, but this is what we're hopefully going to stick to. That's our plan. It's going so well so far. But this is key, because this demonstrates the amount of news flow that's coming out. There's a lot happening for BRADDA over the next 12 to 18 months, and it's a very exciting time for us. BRADDA is, we have come to market at a good value, and we've only drilled 4% of our clay assets. That's soon going to drop down to 2% once we, fully stake our claims, which we are doing now. And then beside of that, we have our pegmatites and brine assets. So we've got a huge portfolio, which is what we're getting going on now. We're making sure we're testing all that. We had a very successful IPO. We raised over £6 million. We already have a resource, and we were doing drilling as we speak. We've identified we can process our ore to battery-grade lithium carbonate already. The management team's phenomenal. They've done this before. They understand what they're doing, and we're all about returning value to shareholders. And we're developing these assets in a low-carbon way for the US domestic market, and that's very exciting. President Biden is really pushing the US domestic market, and that's what we're part of. Got a lot of news flow going. As you see this week, we've already released something on Wednesday. The share price has been doing very well since we listed on Monday, and we're drilling as we speak. And then most importantly, we are in exceptionally supportive mining jurisdiction and ranked 1 and 2 of investment attractiveness as of the Fraser Index 2020. So all in all, very exciting time for BRADDA ahead. Lots going on, and we've got a lot more news flow coming out. Mark, that's everything from me.
Charlie, that's great. Thank you very much indeed for updating investors this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. But just while the company take a few moments to review those questions submitted already, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the Q&A and a copy of the slides, can be accessed via your Investor Meet company dashboard. I'd also like to remind you that your feedback is important to the company, and immediately after this presentation has ended, you'll be redirected for the opportunity to provide feedback in order that the company can better understand your views and expectations. Charlie, thank you so much for the presentation. I know you've covered a lot of points, but we did have a number of questions that were pre-submitted. So perhaps I could start off the Q&A with those. And forgive me if you have touched on them. Perhaps you could just expand a little. The first question reads as follows: could you please explain why you have chose to list in London? Surely, as a pure play American operation, you would have been better suited to the US market.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's a very good question. We list in the UK because we know there's a very good investor base for battery metals in the UK, and that's been demonstrated from the IPO and the really good support we have. But we understand this is a US focused company, and US investors will want to be involved, or North American investors. So we are looking into options of secondary listings. We're not planning right now, but at some point, I'm sure it would make sense to have a secondary listing for BRADDA in the North America somewhere.
Thank you very much indeed. Second question really about competition. Can you talk about your competitors, who they are, how big?
Yeah, so a lot of our competitors, which I mentioned earlier, are focused in North America, a lot in Nevada. They range in size from 100 million to 200 million, 300 million. As I said before, a lot of them have two types. Most of them are focused on clay. A few of them have two types of assets. We have all three: clay, brines, and pegmatites, which makes us unique. And we've come to market at a low valuation, and we're growing the company, and we're very excited to get results out there and to grow the value to demonstrate to shareholders why we think they should invest in BRADDA Head.
Thank you, Charlie. Next question reads as follows: what is going to be the cost to build these mining operations if you do have sufficient mineral reserves? How are you going to fund this, and will you allow retail investors the ability to participate in future raises?
It's probably too early to put a price on operations right now. But as a company, we have the experience in-house to be able to develop these assets. Or say, for example, we were made an offer by someone, we'd obviously review it, but we're going to go down the route which returns the most value to shareholders. And any future raises, we will review all options going forward. So these are things which we'll discuss internally when we next look to raise money, probably next year, likely.
Thanks, Charlie. From an CSR ESG perspective, how are you addressing sustainability in your exploration, mining practices, and footprint?
Yeah, well, obviously this is a key thing and very vital, and something which we want to be fully engaged with. And we are going to the US shortly. We're meeting with an ESG professional to discuss everything regarding the assets, the local sort of tribes in the area, to make sure that we are engaging and doing things correctly. So that is something which, as a company, we strongly believe in, and we're going to make sure we hit the ground running with the right foot forward.
Thank you, Charlie. We've got two more pre-submitted questions just to really go through, if I may. First one reads: does BRADDA intend to be a lithium producer if the resource has proven reserves, or will the company look to sell the asset for an easy profit?
Well, we can do both. We have the team in place who have developed assets and built mines, and also we have guys who are very experienced in M&A as well. So we've got both options open to us, and our focus is on shareholder value. We're going to do what is best for the shareholders. So if we have an offer which we believe is best for the shareholders, and the shareholders believe that too, that's what we'll do. But if we want to develop the assets and we have support, we'll do that as well. So we can go either way. It's too early to say right now. We've only drilled a very small portion of our clay assets, let alone our pegmatite or brine assets. So that's something which it's probably too early to answer.
Thanks ever so much, Charlie. And the final question is: the recent RNS said Bureau Creek drilling results will be in Q3. Is that a typo, as we're already in Q3, so only 2 months remaining?
Well, there has been a lag in drilling because of COVID. and now everyone's drilling. So the labs are busy, which means that the assay results don't come back necessarily in the time you expect. We've been given a quote of 10 weeks from the core going to the labs. So it might be earlier than September, but we're expecting first results back in September. And then, it's going to be over Q3.
That's great, Charlie. Well, listen, thank you very much indeed. So that takes care and addresses all those pre-submitted questions. So thank you firstly to the investors at time to submit those questions into the company this morning. Charlie, obviously investors have had the ability to submit some questions. Could I ask you just to open up the Q&A tab and if possible, and where it's appropriate only to do so, could I ask you to read out the question and give a response? And then I'll pick up from you at the end.
Yeah. Okay, so have you had any interest in Tesla to invest with you? As we speak, we have not, but we've just listed on Monday. I'm sure Elon is reading our tweets and will probably be in touch shortly. But at the moment, we haven't had any interest so far. What is the end goal? Sale of all the assets. I think we've covered that one so far. We can go either way. We're focusing on returning value to shareholders. So whatever's best for the company, we will do. What do you think the share price should be in 18 months? Well, that's a very hard question to answer. I think the key thing everyone who's invested in the company should focus on is the fact we have 3 asset types. We have 23 kilometers squared of sedimentary claims. We've only drilled 4% of that. We're about to effectively double our sedimentary claims. We have our lithium pegmatite and brine claims, which we are doing work on. So there's a lot of value in the company which has not been demonstrated yet. So there's a big potential uplift for the share price, but I wouldn't want to put a price on it. Hopefully, once we get our analyst coverage up, they will do that. Do you have any indication of prospective resources, NPV, on risk basis? Yeah, it's really hard to put a figure on that right now. We have an exploration target in our Barrow Creek East, which SLK put together. This was 2018, so that's a target from the old program. I think that's a question we wouldn't want to answer until we've done this drill program at Barrow Creek East, which is testing the 5 holes and putting the 5 new holes in. That will enable us to expand the resource, and hopefully we'll get an uptick in grade as well, because this new program, we're getting better recoveries. We're not missing out anything in the core, so we can do better analysis and get a more accurate view of the resource there. And as the recent announcement said, we believe the resource is deepening to the northwest, and that's where we're pushing the extra new holes. We also own claims to the northwest there, so those are claims where we're going to look to permit and drill as well in our Barrow Creek East extension, which is just to the northwest there. And the new claims we are permitting, one claim is to the north of that as well. So there's another. That's why we've staked it, but we are staking it because we believe there's lithium under there. And then Barrow Creek West to the west there. So there's a huge amount of upside in the claims we have, and we believe the lithium extends underneath them.
Charlie, thank you very much indeed. I think you've probably taken on all the questions that we've had from investors. That's been obviously appropriate to answer. And Charlie, thank you for being so proactive in your engagement. I know you've only just recently listed. Congratulations on that, but thank you for taking the time to update investors this morning. Look, I know investor feedback is going to be particularly important and relevant to you. So before I automatically redirect investors to provide you feedback, perhaps, Charlie, I could ask you just for a few closing comments just to wrap up. And then, as I said, I'll redirect investors to provide you feedback.
No, thanks, Mark. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this. BRADDA is very excitedly come to market. The UK has had a very successful clay story back on Aura. And we are, we're in a very early stage of our assets. We've got an inferred resource. We've demonstrated you can process our ore to battery-grade lithium carbonate. We have a huge amount of claims in the belt. We're just getting going. Very exciting what's happening there. And then we have our brines and pegmatite. So the upside as well, apart from our clay assets, is massive. And it's a really exciting time to be involved in this. I think BRADDA being in the US, Nevada, Arizona, just as the US is developing its domestic supply chain, it's very exciting, and can't wait to get out there on the ground in August, where we're going to give some nice videos, some updates, and the the drill rigs will be going as we are there. So yeah, looking forward for more updates and everyone's support. Thank you.
Charlie, thank you once again for updating investors today. Can I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. It'll only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be hugely valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of BRADDA Head Limited, I'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. That now concludes today's session, and good morning to you all.